And we're live.
All right.
This should have been the episode before last episode, but I was trying to get everybody on that I could. So here we are with the Wookiee storybook and Imperial Transport little story that was accompanying the toy way back when.
Nice.
Way back when. Because the EU Legends Wayback Machine, because I cover all my bases. All full circle. Anyway.
They're little ticks, but they pack a lot of punch, if you know what I mean.
We should stick to one title, Alex.
Nope. Never gonna happen. Just to spite you.
Dang it. Still annoying that back of my mind where I'm like, why can't we have a consistent title for the podcast?
Because I gotta cover all the copyright claims. No one can use EU Wayback Machine or Legends because it's included. I thought ahead. You're just not playing 4D chess like me.
Yeah, just in 30 years, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of copycats. They're going to have their own Scott, their own Robert, their own Harry. They'll just have some Australian dude. They'll have some dude with long hair, a Florida guy.
Yeah.
It'll be crazy.
Lucas Gerson says hello.
Hello! I'm from New Zealand, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's an easy mistake to make.
He's where the hobbits are.
Yes. That's what I was about to say. Hanging
So we
down
have
there with the director of Lord of the Rings. Very cool.
Yeah. I haven't hung out with him, but I did get to meet a guy who worked on the CGI of Lord of the Rings, which was awesome.
Your cousin Eunice is also here.
Hello!
So I think we said we're going to talk about Wookiee Storybook first. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
What are y'all's thoughts overall on the book?
It's very cute. Very charming.
Yeah, let's start with Harry, because Harry was like, I want to come on for this one.
Yeah. I found it it's like, I mean, obviously it's not a huge story, but I found it very cute, very charming, and surprisingly, I think more significant to like the development of, Wookiee lore early on. Like, this early on, we know that the Wookiees had been enslaved by a reptilian race of some kind. We don't know that they're Trandoshan specifically. That wouldn't come until later. But even this early on, we know that they were being enslaved by reptilians, which was like, wow, I didn't know that part. Was this early on?
Remarkably well with later continuity.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, early on, I'm pretty sure some authors were even given this book for resources. I know the author of, I was going to mention that. Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
It was Tyrant's. It was Tyrant's Test, and Michael P.Q. McDowell wanted to make Chewbacca a polygamist in the book, and Lucasfilm gave him a copy of the Wookiee storybook and said, "You have to keep it consistent with this." Fascinating.
Yeah. Like, not to jump too far here, but that's also the one where I think where they made up that Wookiees have their own version of a bar mitzvah, just so Lumpy didn't have to be called Lumpy anymore, which is very funny.
He eventually became Waru because of that, didn't he? Lumpa Waru, and then just shortened it to Waru.
Yeah.
A little Wookiee of many names.
Yeah. Oh, God, that face can be a meme unto itself.
It truly can. Now, I will point out that the author of this, her name is, where'd it go?
Patricia Wynn.
No, that's the illustrator.
It's illustrated by Patricia Wynn. It's actually written by Eleanor Earnhardt, and that's who also wrote The Maverick Moon and Mystery of the Rebellious Robot.
Product says dark greetings, and isn't this the book
here? But she's been credited as the author online.
And Product also says, isn't this the book where Mala can randomly use telepathy?
I think that there is some. She does use telepathic ability, which is probably the most discordant part with like later stuff.
I think it's funny that in the front publication information we have a summary of the book, and the summary is this: Lumpy's descent to the nether world of his jungle planet to hunt for special berries for his father's homecoming becomes a scary adventure.
Another early appearance of the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
It starts as a normal 80s kids fun times, and then it quickly becomes it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of how it is as well?
That kind of is the entire plot.
I like this page, which shows their nicknames and their full names.
Yeah.
Although, luckily, Lumpy does not have any kids around his age that he does funky stuff with, like in it. So, I still can't believe that was in that book. That's crazy. But that's a different conversation.
So for anyone who's less familiar with this and perhaps doesn't own it physically, would anyone like to tell us a bit about it?
Well, I'd like to show the first panel. It starts like how so many scenes in the holiday special start, with that art piece of the Wookiee homes up in the trees, and it's really nice. I like that it shows the Wookiees themselves up there. I don't know if I'm on it.
Yeah, that the original Ralph McQuarrie piece, the painting that's based on, is like one of my favorite illustrations of that era, and it's really cool to see a new spin on that. I just love that Wookiee architecture style. Just that imagery of it is kind of just beautiful in its own way. Like, there's a reason that part of the holiday special has endured in the way other parts haven't.
You get a lot of fun,
I really like the art in this
throughout the story.
In this children's book. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it
for what it is.
Kind of the same books. It kind of reminds me of similar storybooks from that era I remember reading as a kid. It kind of just has that 70s feel to it, in a good way.
It's very Maverick Moon and Mystery of the Rebellious Robot too. It feels just like both of those.
Also, Audix says, Audix says, I think it's incredible how, despite how much George Lucas hated the holiday special, he actually made sure Kashyyyk and Revenge of the Sith looked consistent to how it is in the special. So that's the same thing with the EU in general. I mean, this Timothy Zahn made it look, when he described it, basically the same. So
that's interesting. I think, I remember hearing stories of like how the art department went back to the holiday special to like specifically reference it. The way it was designed for the inspiration and all that.
I really love this book. I love this story. I think it's really, really great. I'm a huge holiday special fan, as
the main one.
I absolutely shilled out for the holiday special in our holiday special episode, because I actually really enjoy it. And so
you're like the sole defender. I know.
This that ties into it, I think, is really excellent. I think at its core, the holiday special is a good film and a good project. And I think that the Wookiee storybook does an admirable job of building on that. I think the story that it constructs makes sense as well.
I think this is a better introduction to Wookiees than the holiday special, though. Like, if I had to tell, like, if somebody's like, should I read this little children's book or should I watch the holiday special, I would tell them to read this book. That's what I would say.
I completely agree with Lucas Gerson in the comments, who says the holiday special is overhated. It's not a perfect movie, but it's not that sequel trilogy level people claim either.
Well, yeah. When you compare it to that, then it's Citizen Kane, but
it actually upholds the lore and doesn't, actively destroy it. But that's okay. So this project is really, it's a story about Lumpy wanting his father's approval, and so he misses Chewbacca, who's not home yet, and he's like, I've got to prove myself for my father. And so as he's laying around the house kind of bored waiting for Chewie to arrive is when he gets this idea, because he has
also
his grandfather Itchy tells him about
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, I just want to see Corey's here.
To see you here.
That's all. Sorry.
His grandfather Itchy gets him on his lap in the recliner and regales him of old tales. And one of the tales he tells is how the Wookiees came from another planet. That's interesting. That's an interesting detail.
That part really surprised me because, as I said before, I also worked as an editor on Supernatural Encounters, and I remember being skeptical of the idea of Wookiees coming to Kashyyyk from another planet, because I always just imagined it as their homeland. But no, this book already says that the Wookiees came from another planet. I was like, damn, they already had this early on. So again, like, there's some early lore here that like is really unique and has been and still gets taken in by later writers, and there's just something really cool about that.
It's not even just Supernatural Encounters or this book. I mean, because some people might go, "Well, it's a children's book, like it doesn't count," which it does. But I mean, if you go to the Dawn of the Jedi comics, we know that a bunch of races didn't come, they came from different places. So I think that also shows that.
Well, at least at this point, it would suggest that life started on a common planet, on one planet, and then spread throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
At least this point in 1979. So this takes place, this book was written after the holiday special had come out, but chronologically,
Takes place
before, because it mentions at the very beginning, Chewbacca was coming home for the first time after a 3-year mission, presumably with Han. So Lumpy is very much looking forward to seeing Chewbacca. And it's also Chewbacca's 200th birthday, his bicentennial celebration. So they're throwing him a surprise party, and Lumpy wants to
already
go out.
Establish his age as well.
Lumpy wants to find a certain type of berry that Waska berry that is an ingredient in Chewbacca's favorite dessert, Waska berry pudding. Mala doesn't want him outside the house to gather the Waska berry, so he sneaks out anyway, disobeying his mother, and gets into a lot of trouble later on, as we'll see.
And before he goes, Itchy, among the things that she tells him, like how the Wookiees came from another planet, Itchy also mentions how they've been enslaved before, and we get the panel that looks remarkably consistent with Trandoshans, which is honestly incredible.
Yeah.
How much these do look like Trandoshans right there. And Itchy also tells him about what they call the Nether World right now. And it's the Wookiee Shadowland at the base of the planet, basically.
Yeah.
And so this plants the idea for Lumpy, because I think Itchy talks about how great warriors go down there to collect stuff. And so Lumpy's like, all right,
guess I'm going. Bet.
And going.
Also, real quick, before we completely dissect this story and move on, 2 things. One, I wanted to say that Star Wars Scran is here. He says hello. So he makes a joke about the Phantom Menace is the only thing that is canon in the Saga of One. But
very dark trait of him, actually.
Yeah, right. And also, because we heard how Harry felt, we heard how Brennan felt. I want to make sure we heard how Robert and Scott felt before we completely dissected the story.
Yeah.
Robert, you want to go first?
Read the story. I've actually never read the Wookiee storybook before, so.
Oh, this is your first time? New EU?
Oh, wow.
I know a few things about it. I know about the telepathy thing. I know about, the fact that Chewbacca's family are in it. I didn't know that this was seemingly where their full names were first established. That's interesting.
For sure.
I do have one thing to add, and anyone who knows, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think the Wookiee storybook might be the last thing published by Black Falcon Limited.
Oh,
sounds right.
Which was it was a subsidiary of Lucasfilm that this is from Wikipedia, that was formed in February 1978 to handle the merchandising of Star Wars. It didn't last long. It died in December 1979.
That would mean this is probably the last one, wouldn't it? Black Falcon also did Maverick Moon and Mystery of the Rebellious Robot, right? They even didn't they do some of the comic strips even? Like
they did.
Weren't they credited? Yeah,
all the ones we've covered thus far, actually. They did Gambler's World, the Constancia Affair, the Kashyyyk Depths, Tatooine Sojourn, and Princess Leia Imperial Servant, and we've done all those.
Nice.
Yeah. As you said, they did the Maverick Moon, the Mystery of the Rebellious Robot.
Which were also written by Eleanor Earhart, right?
Yes.
Sorry, a few notes about Itchy, which is such a weird, funny name. Like, forget Lumpy, Itchy is the weird name because I keep thinking of Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons. Very different Star Wars story there, but anyway, my point is that is this, like, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first time we've established the Wookiees can live for 200 years? Because literally says bicentennial celebration, just like the ones they have.
Maybe.
George Lucas had said in the making of Star Wars that Wookiees are, at
Wookiees
least
were long-lived.
Chewbacca is
Ah.
200 years old. So
Yeah.
This is probably the first time in Pro Story that we've touched on the longevity of Wookiees, like in universe.
Yeah. I think they probably did pull it directly from the notes Lucas gave, the recordings Lucas gave in that making of that were shown off in that making of book, which are fascinating. And I think I'm actually probably going to write something about that at some point. But anyway, but also she says on planets far, far away. So this is an example of a character saying far, far away in the story of Star Wars.
right.
That's a good catch.
And Scott, how did you feel overall about this?
I thought it was fine. It's very similar to a lot of the Ewok storybooks that we get later on.
Yeah, I
think
felt
of
that.
it as a generic children's storybook with Star Wars characters. This focal point of the story is the story that his grandfather tells Lumpy, and has the history of Han saving Chewie from the slavers. Now, it's an account of his grandfather, so it doesn't necessarily have to match the other EU that we have later on. We see they vaguely look like Trandoshans. They have like a medieval clothing to them. They look like Swiss Guard or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. The illustrations are good, but there's not much there in terms of story. It's like he gets he misses his step, kind of falls to the netherworld there, and there's some scary creatures down there. Chewbacca comes and saves them, and that's about it. So I don't really have any strong feelings about it. It's okay for what it is.
I think I was just going to say, like, this is also the first time we learned of how Han and Chewie met, which is wild to think.
That's Lucas Gerson.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting when you can find stuff like this early. It is wild to think that such a key part of like their A New Hope history was established in this book.
I like that they've kept Lumpy's bunk bed from the film.
It definitely looks like they had at least the set design, idea of what was going on there. So
I like that they live in trees and he has a wooden bunk bed and a wooden toy chest. I'd be so sick of seeing wood everywhere I was. I'd want something like metal just to be a visual difference.
Does this match the stuff in like Heir to the Empire and Dark Force Rising where they go to Kashyyyk and everything's made of wood there?
Yeah.
I don't recall that.
I mean,
did you notice they had stained glass windows?
Oh yeah. Oh, I love those. It's so 70s.
I thought they were so cute.
But yeah, wooden bed, wooden toy chests, wooden rooms. Wait till he gets morning wood. Oh my god. But anyway, but yeah, aside from that, why do they have a bunk bed actually? Like, isn't Lumpy an only child? Or no, wait. No. I guess Chewbacca and how does that work? Like
it's not like it's not unheard of for an only child to have a bunk bed. They were kind of in style back in that time period, especially.
And he was an only child.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Thanks for that. But yeah, I think
presumably Lumpy has friends.
Right.
Maybe they
sleepovers.
Yeah, good point. He's gonna have his cousin over, right? Lobaka. He's gonna come over for his
Lobaka. God, yeah. Oh yes. Oh my god.
Loey and Lumpy sleepover time. Let's watch cartoons about Luke fighting Boba Fett before we go to bed. Sounds like a great weekend.
Yeah.
I would say as well, so as you guys mentioned, there's a moment where Mala uses the Force, uses a kind of telepathy. It's when Lumpy is out, she's worried about Lumpy, what's going on with Lumpy, and she just thinks, and she imagines, actually there's a panel of it, she thinks about the Falcon and where Han and Chewie are, and she thinks for help.
Use the Force,
really
Mala.
Cool scene. Really cool scene where we see a non-Jedi using Force powers. I think that's really neat.
Also,
Um,
also it's funny how notice all the planets or moons in the background. Like one of them, like two of them are clearly just one of them is just Jupiter, and the other Jupiter upside down, and the other is
I did
Saturn.
notice that. Yeah,
Yeah. I
pretty
think.
wild.
I mean, hey, with SE, you got all the different Earth worlds and such with their own
And
Jupiters and Marses and all that, or
Lumpy
systems, if you will.
Lumpy did interact with Han's kids in Legacy of the Force.
Not much, though. I think a bit of a
Not
missed
much.
opportunity, personally.
Yeah.
Especially after Vector Prime. I would have liked to see more of him, but they kind of didn't do anything with him.
Well,
So you
Lucino
got more
set it
with
up.
Loey, but
Lucino set it up in Agents of Chaos at the funeral where Lumpy
that's true.
and Loey came over to Han and were like,
Mm.
we feel that the burden of Chewie's absence is so great that we will both share the life debt for you.
Yeah, but
And
they don't really follow through with
Loey and
that.
Lumpy were ready to go.
Yeah.
Lavaca and Lumpy were gonna go with Han, but Han needed space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have more of a legacy with Loey than we do with Lumpy.
Yeah.
Although
But,
Lumpy does show up again in Legacy of the Force when
He
Kashyyyk
does.
is burning.
Mhm.
And helps fight Alima Rar as well.
That's true. It is true.
Brennan, now you've got another new Jedi Order story to write. You do a great job there.
Thank you.
No
Yeah,
worries.
I'd love to write some Lumpy action. Lumpy tearing limbs off of Vong.
Oh
Imagine.
wow, that'd be something.
Yeah. So another cool detail is they receive the message, Chewie and Han, and look what they do. This is a vehicle that, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't seen this before, right?
Yeah,
This is
Explorer
an
craft.
this is an explorer craft. Yeah,
yeah. It's such a unique. It's such a unique
I love it.
design. It feels almost like closer to like a sleeker prequel look. Like
I
it feels
know
like
what
it's
you
Oh
so.
mean.
Yeah,
kind of
honestly,
like the Azure Angel a little bit.
yes, honestly, this feels like the perfect craft for like E.C. Henry to make a video about, like to just expand the lore on in his own way.
I need to make a stream where I go through and name all of the species that we see. Because look at all the fauna of Kashyyyk that we get to look at.
Yeah, like there's some.
So
Yeah,
many
like Kashyyyk.
creatures.
Yeah, Kashyyyk feels like weirdly underrated in terms of cool species. Like, and like remember that like giant like centipede species in the
Yeah.
newspaper strip? That is so cool.
Yeah, I think it's a bit unexplored, honestly. Even though we've been to it a few times, like even in Knights of the Old Republic, I feel like
Oh yeah, there's
you,
lots.
you get to go down there, but I feel like there's still. I feel like I'm missing so much. Like I only saw a
Yeah.
fraction.
The biodiversity of this place is surely up there with Endor almost.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
quite to the level, but it's not far behind.
I also want to say, as for me, I'm pretty much with Scott on this story, though I do. Hold on.
Chewbacca lacks discipline. Like he doesn't have the discipline necessary to put his son in line there. He's just like,
Yeah, he's like,
it's all good.
he's like, it's fine.
That's why
And
Lumpy's
crying. He's like, I'll never be a hero like you. And Chewie's like, Lumpy, you are a hero. Liar. Liar. He may be a hero later. Lumpy's just a little boy right now, Chewie. And I don't appreciate your gentle parenting. He needs straightened out.
That's why his coming of age doesn't occur until the Black Fleet crisis. Way later.
Yeah.
I guess not that far later in terms of like Wookiee lifetime, but still.
Nazo's here.
A blink in the eye of a Wookiee lifespan.
I was gonna say, like Scott, I'm pretty okay with this story, though he compared it to the Ewok cartoon, which I think is purely just fine. I know Brennan and Matt are much bigger fans of it than me, but I was personally more. I appealed more to the Droids cartoon. I thought that was more up my alley. I felt there was more substance to it personally, and so I would put the Wookiees. I put the Wookiee storybook up with the Droids show in terms of it's before Droids, but it's above Ewoks for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was comparing it to the Wookiee storybooks, not so much the cartoons, but it's the same vein as like if you were going to read a Star Wars book to your little kid with lots of pictures, this would be a good story for that.
Yeah, I mean, like like picture books in the 70s were kind of, for lack of a better word, could get really messed up. Like I remember there was one. I don't know if anyone else read this. It was called Not Now, Bernard, where it was all about this kid telling his parents, "Hey, there's this monster," and they don't listen to him, and then the monster eats the kid, but the parents still don't notice that he's been eaten by the monster, and they just treat the monster like their son. Like, that was a real book in the 70s I read as a kid.
Even in Star Wars in the 80s, by the time we get to the Adventures of Tebow,
Yeah.
that's the book that describes the blood of the Duloc as it shatters off the rocks. But we'll talk about that later.
This is for children, but it literally says he like becomes like paste on the bottom or whatever. I was just gonna say Nazo. We love Anakin, don't we? That's all I have to say.
Wow.
And then Corey says Brennan entering his slap your kids phase was one of those things I never expected to see, but enjoyed watching.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, so sorry. While I don't have the Wookiee storybook here, by the way, I do have a Wookiee related treat here, and this is why I really wanted to jump on this stream here. And this will actually require me appearing on camera for the first time. Hello all. I can tell here because I got out of the shower here. Because I have owned this for quite a while. This is the analog science fiction, science fact issue from July 1975. This illustration is what gave us the look the Wookiees have.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the coolest things I learned from Joe was all these connections that were made from past things, whether it be space opera or stuff like this. It was really cool to learn.
Yeah, I learned about it. Yeah, I told Joe about it when I found a website. It's called it was called Kit Bashing, which is an amazing resource for what influenced Star Wars. And there was an article on the Wookiees and how much these illustrations inspired it. And just look at it. Look at this. Look at how similar. Look at how much.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Those are Wookiees right there. Literally Wookiees with the crossbows.
Yeah, like literally, the reason Wookiees have a crossbow is because of this illustration. It is the only reason. Like, that is fascinating to me, and especially because this is from George R.R. Martin,
right? Yeah,
Ice and Fire guy himself. He was like, you can find his name in like old Fantastic Four issues, and like it's like, wow, he's always been there. Even before Song of Ice and Fire took off with the.
All right, so two things, Harry. One, so this is the first time you've ever done this with your face?
No, I was on a previous.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's crazy. It was done here. But
yes.
Oh yeah. And then I was gonna say, so kind of. I'm not saying it is, but kind of with George, because there's no citation really given. Kind of plagiarism, just a tad.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's a whole thing, but it is kind of veering into that. But I think that they've done sense enough to separate the Wookiees. Thanks to SE, we have a source. We have it being linked to the whole wider universe thing. But
no, that's one thing that I did that I think there's some things. This isn't an SE discussion. There's some things I'm not particularly fond of, but one thing I do like, especially since there's no credit given all these years, is going, hey, well, if we're not going to give citation, then we'll just make it a part of the lore that these things are connected.
Yeah.
Give them some credit for what is obviously heavily taken. So.
But yeah, I feel happy to have finally appeared on camera on these streams. By the way, with here, and there's my Oz collection in the back and all that. There's my collection of Oz books, which I'm sure will please Joe. There's my Donald Duck books, all the Don Rosa ones. And actually, right over there, past the upper collections, there's my Star Wars shelf. It like takes up 4 different shelves alone. Like, that's my Star Wars collection.
That's pretty great. I just have boxes. When I have my own place, I'll get shelves. But I was going to say, do we feel pretty satisfied with the discussion about the Wookiee storybook? Or do we have anything else to discuss?
Can I add something?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Aside from how much I enjoy this for it connecting to the holiday special, I also enjoy it just purely as a story on its own. I think it is a cute story overall, and I know a few of you guys weren't too jazzed about it, nothing special, but I do think the whole kid wants to be brave like their dad, gets into trouble and learns a lesson at the end is quite a nice story, and it works pretty well in Star Wars with
Yeah.
this family dynamic here. I actually think it's quite a cool story and actually works really well considering what Lumpy will go through later to change his name and reach adulthood way later on in the timeline. I think it works really well as a narrative and as something that's connected to other media.
Yeah.
So for all of that, I think this is really good, and I think it has more substance, at least to me, than the Maverick Moon and Mystery of the Rebellious Robot,
I would agree with
where
that.
I do enjoy this more than either of those.
Yeah, like those other
Yeah.
two are cool. It's like, but they're kind of just more like novelties to me. Whereas with this one, it's like, oh wow, you can really see where later material drew upon, like in so many unique ways. And I think some other extra thoughts I had before the stream. One thing I appreciate about this and the holiday special is that with the extended time we get with Wookiees in their homes, it means like this is one of the first times we really see what a mundane location is like in the Star Wars universe beyond just the Laz homestead. And I think there's just something really cool and novel about that.
Honestly, one of the rare times ever.
Yeah,
because we barely ever saw that. It seems like.
yeah. Even recently, like I think it was like either Skeleton Crew or Andor was using like holiday special concept art to draw upon like the more mundane locations in those stories. So it's like this kind of stuff left a really lasting impression on how like people just live in the Star Wars universe, which is really cool.
You know,
Another thing,
I was going to say, because you said that, and I'm saying it because it's relevant. Again, I've yet to see Andor. Maybe one day when I've gone through everything else I possibly want to go through. But that's one thing I hear people say a lot, is that you get to see the mundane. You get to see what is the everyday Joe in the Star Wars universe? What does that look like? So here you have an example, decades prior, of just a typical day with the Wookiees. I think that's something that you want to see for world building wise. Not everything can be we're saving the world. Sometimes you just want to see what does an average day in the Star Wars universe look like. And this is
absolutely. Hell, I wrote a story recently that's like that, where it's just about like an average person dealing with like a shitty day at work after having dealt with like some shitty time at work. But yeah, like my primary inspiration for that was like the Devil Wears Prada. Like it's like wow, I'm putting Devil Wears Prada in Star Wars. But anyway, another point I want to make before we move on to the transport. Something else I noticed is that this and the newspaper strip are some of the earliest examples of the EU's multimedia storytelling. Like not like telling the same story in different mediums per se, but more like using the same location in all these different mediums. And there's just something really cool about that. This is basically like Shadows of the Empire before Shadows of the Empire, where when the holiday special came out, you have all this like, all this stuff tying into that. Like
I wish there was a holiday special comic.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I know. I remember one guy wants to make like a holiday special novelization, which would be fascinating.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. And so yeah, like even this early on, like people view the kind of these early days of the EU as somewhat being disconnected from each other, but with the use of Kashyyyk and all these different stories, it really shows how connected it was even this early on, which I think is just really cool to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with Brennan's sentiment. I just think that Lumpy not listening to his mother and almost falling down and getting killed. Chewbacca says, "Oh, you are a hero. I had to come back here early just to save your little butt." Like I think he should have been grounded at least. I'll just say that.
Oh yeah,
like, Lumpy should have listened to his mother.
This is my headcanon. After the Chewie and Mala are good parents. They're not the type to let their child walk all over them. I truly believe that. So after the celebrations died down, after the ruckus time and the fun time where you got to stay up late, do the celebration. See, because if I got in trouble over a holiday period, I'd get punished after. So after the celebrations, he got grounded for 2 weeks. And I think that was fair. Cousin Lobaka wasn't allowed to come over for the weekend for their annual sleepover get-together every week. He wasn't allowed to come over. He had to stay at home, off the video games. it was a tough time for Lumpy, but it was worth it.
It was worth it. It was also worth it for Lubaka because he did some Jedi training. He found out he was able to use the Force because he wasn't hanging out reading comics, watching cartoons
with his little cousin.
He was on the bad side of town. But by the way, Brennan, I would love to check out whatever live stream you do of like naming all this background species, because that is such a fun game of just coming up with, or reconciling them with a species in the wider universe.
Ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun stream. We should do that sometime.
Absolutely. So, does anyone?
Robert was going to say something.
Oh yes.
Yes. Two things. One, Lumpy wanting to be like his father and wanting to prove himself. That would very much continue to be a thing in the EU with what's the name of that short story?
A Forest Apart by Troy Denning. And even in the Marvel comics, doesn't Lumpy show up in one of the later Marvel comics with the Nagai?
Yes.
And
in fact,
that picks up that same thread that you're talking about with him aspiring to be Chewbacca.
Yes. In fact, Chewie's family are mentioned by name in that. So that's quite a thing. Also, this is the second time Lumpy's nearly fallen to his death.
Yeah. After his walking on the railing scheme in the movie. What a little daredevil testing fate, testing the strength of the carpentry ability on Kashyyyk.
Yes.
Yeah. He's not to be offensive to Lumpy, he's a bit of a little pudge ball. Okay, I said it. I'm surprised that wood held.
So this just proves my point. He never learned his lesson because the holiday special in which he does that takes place after this. So, I mean, he almost fell to his death here. He tries to do it again in the holiday special. I'm saying Lumpy needs to get disciplined. Chewbacca needs to crack the whip, I think.
Yeah. To be fair, Chewie isn't exactly a present father. I think he did what he could.
Yeah, Mala's doing her best.
Gallivanting around the stars.
It's not like his grandpa's doing any better. He's just watching stuff he shouldn't be watching in the living room. So,
speaking of which, like, where's the income from this family come from? Does Mala does she sell her cooking or something?
Yeah, Mala does catering on the side.
I assumed that when Han and Chewie did jobs, that a portion of it went to Chewie and he just sent it back home, was my assumption.
Yeah, Mala does catering, and Ichi's also in a fund for veterans, I think. Probably. The reason he has that cane is he blew out his knee somewhere along the way in the front lines. In Revenge of the Sith with the Trade Federation, and so now he's got those credits flowing in every month
from the Empire, ironically enough.
Yeah, exactly. That must be true. That must be how it goes.
Deep lore right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So Brennan, who did you say the illustrator was for this story?
It's right in the front. Let me see.
Patricia Wynn, which I thought was the author because it's the only name on the storybook here.
It's interesting that they didn't credit the lady who did Maverick Moon and Mystery of the Rebellious Robot, but I've seen that online on 2 sources now. So, interesting.
That's odd. So
if we ever get to Sword of the Jedi in the future, I don't expect it to happen, but my idea would be in the future you have Jaina as a Jedi, but she has kind of like how her mother had the 2 Nogri for a while before they got murked during the.
You should have Lumpy and Loey.
Yeah, that's my idea because she's already friends with Loey.
Although by that point, Lumpy is called Waru, which is kind of weird. But he's called Waroo because he changed his name from Lumpawarump was called Lumpy, but then he changed his name to Lumpawaru, and then it got nicknamed Waru. And
then we bring back Waru into the story, and then shenanigans ensue.
Waru goes swimming in Waru.
Exactly.
Cinema.
So
Yeah, what?
Patricia Wynn. Sorry, Patricia
Yeah,
Wynn
it's,
was.
you go on, Robert.
Patricia Wynn was also the illustrator for the various activity books, also published under Black Falcon, while it still existed.
Nice.
Good point here from Autotect as well. Lumpy could be Anya Solo's Chewie.
Nice.
I think Loey probably passed at some point,
Yeah,
doing something heroic. I don't think he's in the Legacy era. Plus the Jedi
But-
Purge.
I don't
Yeah,
know
but
if
all-
Lumpy would be with Anya, depending on not if we're considering what
How
you know.
Anya's not actually a Solo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he could still help her just cause.
Maybe with Marasiah Fell.
Yeah.
So the art in this storybook, how would you rank it? With
Excellent.
B
It's
plus.
very charming.
I love the vibe. Everything about it. It captures the characters so well. I really love it. I think the background shots are beautiful of the environment, and the character shots are great too. I think it's great, and Han looks great, to his credit. Unlike Mystery of the Rebellious Robot, where Han looks like melted wax. This actually looks like Han Solo. I think that's neat. This panel at the end is really sweet. How Chewie mentions that his whole family's here, everyone he loves. And he's like, "You're here, Mala's here, Itchy's here, and Han's here. Han's a part of Chewie's family." That's so
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, sorry, one more thing. I think I might have mentioned it earlier, but yeah, the whole Lumpy to Waru thing, it's like, I think I joked that it's like the Wookiees have their own version of a bar mitzvah. A sort of coming of age ritual, basically, to reason for why you don't need to call them Lumpy anymore, which is
Yeah,
just very funny.
funny retcon, but also great lore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does
it's
that
a good way to
mean
make
that
Wookiee unique.
Every Wookiee has gone through that warrior ritual. I think that's great.
does that mean that Itchy also went through that, and Itchy was the name that he got stuck with after that?
Yeah, he went through his Wookiee ritual, and he was like, "I don't want to be called Damuk. I want to be called Itchy. That's where it's at." And so he changed his name to Adachitkuk, and Itchy was his name after that. That is a good point. That also kind of infers that Chewbacca might not have been Chewbacca's original name either, right? It could have been something else before he changed it after the
Oh,
ritual.
Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't explored more. Actually, feels like it
Yeah.
was made just for again to change Lumpy's name and then like not elaborated on. Where it's like, no, you can do more with it than just a goofy retcon.
Yeah.
So
Also-
Itchy is in Galactic Battlegrounds, and I think there's a mission. It's been like 20 years since I played that game, but
I forgot he's in that.
it's either Chewbacca that has his coming of age story, or it's Itchy that has some similar adventure that proves himself. And I don't remember if he takes his name or what his old name was, but
I remember Adventures, the comic book. Chewbacca and the Slaver, like Shadowlands, had mentioned to the coming of age stuff that he had to do as well. In that story, the one where like his friend died. Someone earlier mentioned Tarful. When I was a kid, I thought Tarful was Chewie's dad. Did anyone else think that when they were like a kid? When I watched the prequels, I was like, oh, so Tarful is Chewbacca's dad. I didn't realize until years later that he's not, and that Adachitkuk is actually Chewie's dad.
I mean, Chewie probably wishes Tarful was his dad.
Yeah, for real. A Wookiee with dreads, what could be cooler?
right. And Itchy's kind of embarrassing considering what he does in the holiday special. So
Yeah, I wouldn't want my dad to be. Yeah, I wouldn't want my dad to be a VR.
Sorry. I gotta
VR
do this to all
addict.
of you, but I have to mention Christopher Nelson in the chat, and he says, "Itchy and Lumpy sounds like what happens to Wookiees after they've come of age and gone through space puberty."
That
Oh
is
my
an
God.
excellent point, actually, Chris. That is an excellent point. But yeah,
So-
someone mentioned that Tarful is his cousin. I didn't know that either. Is that true? Where's that from?
all the Wookiees are related. They're all cousins.
Oh, he said it was. I think it was out of tech. He said it was from Wikipedia. He was asking if that was true or not to us.
Huh.
Does it list a
My
source?
answer is
for
I
it?
don't know.
I don't know about that. Let me pull it up.
Other than that, we said pretty much our piece on the Wookiee storybook, right?
I think so. And
All right, so I think we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
move on to the Imperial
Brennan,
Transport.
are there any?
I guess
In closing, are there any other really nice pages you want to show us?
I think I showed all of my favorite ones. I don't know if Scott has any others he'd like to show.
No, I mean there's probably a lot of funny ones we could point out throughout the book. Lumpy crying and that, but no, nothing in particular.
I found out that I just looked up Chewie's dad, Adachitkuck, to find out about his name. It says he lived for centuries during the rise and fall of the Galactic Republic. And he sired two pups, Calabo, who's Lobaka's mother, and Chewbacca. And it says that in Shiriwook, the name Adachitkuck means the first heroic companion, which I think is kind of cool. And it mentions that he was at one point the Wookiee chieftain. So I guess he is a respectable fella until in his old age, when his knee's blown out, he decides that the best cure is some VR, we'll just say videos.
Wow, as Art Carney calls it.
It's the downfall of a hero, isn't it? Once warrior, now addict. Very
God,
sad.
what tragic. So anyway, yeah, Imperial troop transport. Does anyone know how to get this, or I know where it is, but
Brennan has a physical copy on hand.
that is awesome. I just had the,
you can read it on StarWarsTimeline.net. I got it over to Joe a PDF, so it's up there
That is
for
awesome.
people to read.
It's
yeah,
also
thank you
on
very much. It's how I'm reading it. So thank you very much, Brennan.
And thanks to Joe for hosting those files for us.
Absolutely.
Jeez, he's holding cranky.
Oh my god.
I guess so. So this also came out in 1979. I believe this was a September release, and this was an October release. This
Ah.
came out with the toy, so it was packaged with the toy, and it makes sense that it was released around Christmas time or towards the holiday months down there.
Yes.
A new toy.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah. Honestly, I wasn't sure why this existed, but thinking on it being like an original design, I was like, oh yeah, it's to justify, to give a bit of backstory for how this design functions in the universe, I guess.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this is short enough that we could maybe just even read it together.
And we
I'm down for that.
saw one of these recently in one of the Marvel issues we covered.
Yeah, it's very similar to Tatooine Sojourn.
Yeah,
It
it's got
no,
the
It almost covers
toy.
the events that
That
are inferred in A New Hope, which is
that
basically
that issue we read recently, where Luke is on Tatooine and there's the towers generating the Omega Frost. At one point, they're in the Sandcrawler and they get chased by a troop transport.
Mhm. The publication information is interesting. Kenner, 1979, Cincinnati, Ohio. I didn't know that's where Kenner was from.
I think that's also where
I think that's
Markiplier's
kind of
from.
interesting.
Wow, Markiplier.
I think so. I think he was born there. I'm not sure though.
That is
You know, he was
interesting.
born on a military base in like Hawaii or something, and then he moved. This is about Markiplier.
If Chris is still in the chat, can you remind me? Is this your copy that I bought? I can't remember who I bought this from.
I know the Wookiee storybook that I have is his copy.
I think I bought this from Chris.
I know you bought his copy, Brennan.
Okay,
that,
I did.
That was his copy. Now it's yours.
Thank you. I thought I did.
As a
So
servant dog, thank you very much.
I appreciate you selling it to me, Chris. I'm so glad to have this. If you want to get a physical copy, I guess you could bite the bullet and pay the high prices of buying the whole toy new in box. I know there's a few listings like that that include the toy and the booklet, but the booklet does come for sale individually sometimes. I've seen it go for like $30, $40. So if you can find it cheaper than
Wow.
that would be.
And you can always read it for free on StarWarsTimeline.net. Also, Nazo, I don't know if you know this, but Robert is going to be the voice for Supernatural Encounters audiobook whenever that releases. So
That's awesome.
you will
Can't wait to hear it.
his voice for like what 15, 20 hours straight, you know? If you
Yeah.
just do nothing else.
That's a long book. 400 over 400,000 words, as long as Lord of the Rings.
The trilogy as a whole.
Yep.
So, if you'd like me to start reading this,
Sure.
and then
go for
Robert
it.
can take maybe the next page.
You're okay
And
with
I will
that?
mention at the end of this page, well, here's the art piece, which I think is a great art piece. I think the first art piece is amazing. It shows, obviously the Death Star, Vader, stormtroopers on dewbacks, and I think it looks so sick, the framing of the panel. So it says, sorry?
I especially like the facial expression on the dewback there.
Oh, yeah, that is so funny. Chagrin is that face, pure chagrin. But so it, without any preamble, no title, so this is now called Imperial Troop Transporter Story Booklet is what people call it, or they call it the Imperial Troop Transport Comic. So it's gone by several titles because there's no official title, but it says Darth Vader's final orders crackled through each trooper's headset. The words were chillingly clear: either come back with the plans or don't come back at all. And this line is the line that, as I was telling you guys before the stream, Darth Vader's command of either come back with the plans or don't come back at all was referenced later in the 2008 novel The Force Unleashed by Sean Williams. It references that and has Vader say that again. And then there's a 2009 article from I think it was Hyperspace. It was Tinker Tailor Soldier or something. And Vader uses that same line in that as well. So this is like a repeat Vader line. Vader has this in his arsenal. In Vader's mind, he has banger quotes. And so he pulls out from an arsenal, from a Rolodex in his brain of just pure banger quotes. And so this is one that he's used like at least 3 times in the EU. I do think it's cool this was referenced again, though.
Yeah,
that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it feels
like Doc. Yes, I did.
The line feels the line feels in keeping with what actually what Vader would later say in something like The Empire Strikes Back, where he goes like, I want them alive, no disintegrations and all that.
Yeah, Tinker Tailor Soldier Pragi. That's right. That's what it was called.
But yeah, but yeah, it's very much in keeping with Vader during this era. Also, something I noticed, just the sheer amount of trademarks. Like, the trademarks are just all over this.
They are. For droids, for the Imperial Troop Transport itself, for Vader's name, for dewbacks, I think, Sandcrawler, Jawas, lots of trademarks. Who wants to take the second page, starting with "It seemed impossible"?
I can do it.
Go for it, Harry.
I was going to say Robert's the narrator, but yeah, you go.
Robert can take the page that's a full page if he wants.
Nice.
I can do that.
I my voice can't measure up to Robert, but I'll try my best. It seemed impossible. Okay. It seemed impossible. 2 mindless droids, TM, had made off with design prints of the Empire's most devastating weapon, Death Star. No, not the Death Star, just Death Star. As the search squad left the Imperial cruiser, a report came through from the onboard scanning stations. The droid's escape pod had been tracked to an arid region on Tatooine known as the Central Lowlands. The exact ground position had been lost as the pod went beyond the scanner's range. But in all that sand, a metal pod should not be hard to find, not with the Imperial Troop Transporter. And there's my page. I
like the lore, Central Lowlands, lots of stuff mentioned. I like how it's kind of mentioned in more detail how they track the droids as well, with scanners and stuff. Robert, when you're ready, I'm excited for you to read this page as well. But this might be the best art piece in the whole booklet, though. fantastic, isn't it?
That is amazing.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Even if that that trooper on the right there looks a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's standing with his like knees buckled.
Okay. Landing at preset coordinates, the troop transporter of the Imperial Empire was there to meet them. Long, sleek, deadly, with the Imperial crest over the side hatches. The great steel blue craft was operated by 2 drivers and could hold all 6 members of the search squad. Each trooper entered a traveling rack on the side of the transporter. They rode standing up in individual racks, since their white and black armor made it almost impossible to sit. The rear of the vehicle contained a prisoner immobilization unit for the detention and taming of renegade droids. And for heavy resistance, there was always the laser blaster mounted on the upper deck. Even at night, the transporter looked fearsome with the glare of its black flip-up lights. One driver reported that dewback ground units had spotted the pod just a short distance to the north. Not bad for a dewback outfit, but the transporter would take over the search from that point. It could cover twice the distance in half the time. The transporter hovered a few feet above the surface and sped to the pod landing site, but the droids and the plans had long gone.
So on this page, we get a lot of the information regarding the toy itself, which is cool that this accompanied that and it gave some lore here. I love that it's acknowledging, because when I found about the Imperial troop transport, I was like, well, then what was the point of dewbacks? But so I love that it kind of acknowledges that the ground dewback units are an outfit that's already kind of outdated. It's like not bad for a dewback outfit. It's kind of condescending to them. I mean, when you have an Imperial troop transport, why would you need dewbacks? So I do think that them kind of acknowledging that this machine with blasters and a prison on board that can carry 6 is much more useful than a walking glorified Komodo dragon, you know?
Yeah.
But Scott, do you want to take the next page?
Sure.
Also,
They
Corey,
left-
thank you very much.
They left only 2 sets of tracks in the sand that were spared by the midday winds. The dewback had already gone after 1 set of tracks. The transport locked onto the other set and headed east. The surface scanner on the transporter soon picked up an old Class D transport slogging through the sand, something the Jawas called a sandcrawler. Over the external sound system, they were ordered to halt in the name of the Empire. They kept moving. 2 rounds were fired across the sandcrawler bow from the 50 megaton blaster on the upper deck. The Jawas stopped and came out to greet the Imperial boarding party. They had many droids in their inventory, but not the ones Darth Vader wanted back. 2 droids were looted from the cargo bay and placed in the droid prisoner compartment for further questioning. A sale had been recorded to one Owen Skywalker of 2 droids for his moisture farm. That's all the troop commander had to hear. The order was given to open fire, and the Jawas were cut down in mid-step, defenseless.
And Alex, do you want to finish for us on the last page?
Sure. 1 second.
Showing this absolute carnage.
As the transporter left to find the Skywalker farm, the heavy gun fired once at the Sandcrawler's midsection. It exploded and burst into flames.
So the Owen Skywalker mention, of course, is one of the most memorable portions of this story. I have a retcon for it that I don't know if you guys think would work. It mentions that it's a sale to an Owen Skywalker. If I was buying stuff from disreputable Jawas, I don't know if I'd want them to have my real name. Do you think he just used that as like a name for, I don't know, an alias name for a sale?
I don't think so, because it seems like they bought from the Jawas all the time. Like the Jawas would come in and they'd give them all the electronics that they needed, whatever, droids and whatnot. The only thing I could come up with is maybe there was a clerical error where they got Luke Skywalker and Owen Lars mixed up.
Maybe
somehow.
that as well. Yeah, they are Jawas. They're not exactly operating at peak efficiency.
Yeah, they don't know basic too well either. At least they can't speak it.
That's true.
So the scene in A New Hope where Obi-Wan says only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise, was that the aftermath of this?
Yes.
So we got to see that depicted here for the first time. The destruction of the Sandcrawler.
That's basically why I don't really consider this an EU story, because it's heavily inferred, if not outright told to you in A New Hope. It's just reading between the lines what happens sort of off screen. But there's no new revelations really, other than maybe the transporter taking 2 additional droids. One can only speculate what those other 2 droids are. I mean, we know
full detail.
We know from some of the other related media tying into the film what some of the other droids' names were in the Jawa Sandcrawler. So like R5D4 and etc. You know,
It took Skippy.
Yeah, they took Skippy. What do you guys think? Who do you think those droids were? Or does it not matter?
I think it was Skippy and what was that other one called? The protocol droid that was there as well with the weird head.
Right. Yeah, and he has a backstory where he's like a former Imperial droid, at least related to the card game, because the card game came out with cards for all of those other droids that C-3PO sees when he looks around inside the Sandcrawler. So there's some weird stuff.
If they recovered that droid, they'd be recovering their own property.
Oh, I also, now that Scott said that, just so everyone knows, in case you don't know, Scott does have a channel. He doesn't upload very often, but if you're into card games and such, he's the guy. he's the card game aficionado when it comes to Star Wars.
He also has a lot of Winter Akbar edits on his channel.
I mean, I just used that for a profile icon, whatever. I thought it was funny. I'm not really especially into Winter or Akbar or anything, but Star Wars Unlimited, I am a fan of the game. So
it's okay. Got a lot of Wattpad fan fiction, so he won't judge you.
No, I'm not into fan fiction either.
In the comments. Yeah, that's why we don't keep up with Disney Star Wars.
Right.
And so I do think I kind of think this is an expanded universe story. I think it expands the universe, I guess. It doesn't do anything super revolutionary, probably not. Like you said, it's just kind of extra scenes, right? But they are extra scenes, so I do think they add something.
I agree.
I'm interested in the Imperial troop transport. It's interesting to hear the Imperial perspective of the hunt for the droids. And that detail about them taking 2 droids is cool as well. The Owen Skywalker thing,
questioning.
Funny. Yeah. And Vader's command at the beginning is cool too. You had some new Vader dialogue. So I think it's cool overall. I really like it actually. The art pieces are cool. Some are cartoony, some are kind of realistic. I do think those are separate illustrators. If you look at this panel and this panel, it's obviously the same style. But the middle panel, there's a lot more depth and more shadow and more shade to it. It seems like it's a different illustrator. I don't know.
A lot of detail in some of those drawings. The only thing I was trying to think about is, you know how Darth Vader says, send a detachment down to retrieve them. So is there a way to transport the Imperial troop transporter on like a shuttle? Or was that something that was already stationed on Tatooine and then just brought in from like Mos Eisley or something?
That's a good
I was wondering about that.
That is interesting.
Because there's a troop transport shuttle. Like if you played the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, there's like a stormtrooper shuttle. It kind of looks like a bus. You know, it's a weird shape for a starship. But I don't know if they outfit like Imperial troop transports inside. I don't know. Interesting.
No, it is interesting. I'm not sure. What do you all think? I kind of thought it was kind of stationed down there.
That could be.
Well, the Empire didn't have a huge presence on Tatooine, but there were a few stormtroopers there. We see some.
Yep.
I guess that would make more sense if they brought it with them then. No sense to leave such a high-tech equipment there year-round.
Well, it goes back to the line in the movie where the detachment is from the Devastator, at least the group of soldiers that went out to find the droids.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't part of the local garrison, but maybe part of the local garrison also joined in the search. I don't know.
Maybe so. Overall, what do we think about this? I think it's really cool. I like it a lot.
I think it's awesome. It's cool finding this. It's just like an example of like the toy line creating its own piece of Star Wars iconography unique to itself,
own lore.
and expanding on it with a little story here and there just to give a bit more context for what this is and how it functions in the world. That is awesome to see. I love when a medium when a piece of Star Wars media realizes, oh, we don't have to do what's seen in the movies. We can create our own thing. And like you reach that kind of threshold. We saw that before with like New Planets, New Perils, and in the comics, and Splinter of the Mind's Eye in the novels, and now we're getting that with just the toys.
Definitely. Good point.
How about you, Scott?
I mean, I thought it was okay. It's nothing special. I don't really consider it EU. Probably some other collectors would probably disagree with me, but
I'd say it's EU. I see no reason not to.
Well, in terms, it's obviously EU, but in terms of like any additional material that would be relevant to the greater EU, I don't think there's anything outside the movies that you really get from this story. Anything additional?
It's a nice companion, but there's nothing here that like you would feel like you're missing out on if someone lived their entire life and read all the novels, all the comics, but never read this. I don't think they'd be like, oh no. Some of us weirdos like me, Matt, Brandon would be like, oh my gosh, yes, new story, no matter how slim it is. But
I
think they wouldn't consider it that much either.
Everyone's
in the film,
different.
We didn't hear Darth Vader's order. We didn't see the Sandcrawler blow up in real time from the troop transport. So,
well, he doesn't say
new, right.
Yeah, he doesn't say come back with the droids or don't come back at all. But he does say come back, send a detachment down to retrieve them. So he kind of relays the order through the commander there. But it's the same basic premise.
Yeah.
So for anyone who happened to be given the toy in 1979, this must have been a pretty cool extra thing to have.
Absolutely,
definitely. Because if I would have been given that, I would have thought, I don't remember this in the movie. Would
have been got Left 4 Dead 2, the video game by Valve Studios. When I got it on National 360, it came with a little packet. And it wasn't as much as the Imperial troop transport, but you got a little, because when you start the game, there is no backstory or anything. You just play as these 4 survivors. But the booklet gives you a little backstory synopsis about who they were before the apocalypse. So it's like you get a little bit more out of it of the game if you read that little booklet. So in the same way, I think that works with the Imperial troop transport. Where it's like, okay, I know the story of this toy I have. And that makes it a little bit more immersive for the kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, if I'm getting a toy, I want it to be something I saw. And if it's not something I saw specifically or explicitly in the movie, I'm going to want to know, why do I own this now? Like some He-Man toys I had growing up were characters that never were in the cartoon. And I was always like, what are these? Why do I have these? This wasn't in the show. And so it's nice to get a bit of lore for something to explain, like, I don't know, maybe I was a weird kid, but I always cared. I was like, I want to have what was in the thing. And so if it's not there, I want to know, well, why does this exist? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think all the action figures had some sort of additional information, at least the Kenner run in the 90s. So each character, they'd tell you certain attributes about their weapon or how tall they are or what planet they came from, certain things like that.
Mhm.
So to get information about the Imperial Troop Transport's cool. I think the toy itself would have been a good carrying case because it has those little slots where you'd put additional action figures in to
Yeah.
carry it around and transport it. So that would be cool.
It's basically an action figure transport, isn't it?
This also isn't the only time we've gotten. I mean, this is for toys specifically, but I know there's some more for arguably even more forgettable stories later on, like during the Clone Wars and stuff, where they made a couple. Like Matthew Stover wrote a story about a clone trooper. It took place before or during Shatterpoint. It has nothing to do with Shatterpoint. It doesn't matter, but Target like sold it or something. And I don't know if that was connected to anything or if it was just a little story you could buy.
Are you talking about the Hasbro
It's on
exclusive?
the website. Yeah, I think so.
I have that somewhere. Where it's like 3 stories in
toy,
one.
but it's just on their website. It was a weird time where they were putting things on at Target and
Are you talking about this?
We have it.
Or
We have a-
Outfox?
it's one. Fox is one by Timothy Zahn, right? I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
We have a relevant comment from Corey, actually.
Corey says this was common at the time and is often the other way around, with the toy line being released and a show and lore being built around it. Yeah, like He-Man and all that, right?
So, does anyone have any final thoughts on Imperial Troop Transport?
No, just it's just a cool. Not much more than it's just a cool
It's
little
neat.
thing. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. They didn't have to do that, right? And they went through the effort of, instead of putting like a little blurb in the instruction manual,
Yeah.
they put a wholly dedicated little booklet story. And I
that's
think that's
the
cool.
beauty of the
They didn't have
expanded.
to they didn't have to do that, right?
And
But
that,
they
you
did,
can see
and I
what
think that's
about the EU as a whole. I mean, we just talked about a Wookiee storybook that a lot of that actually carries through to other things. And that happens a lot with the children's books and young adult books where you didn't have to try so hard. And this is also meant to another shout out. Who's typing? Sorry.
Harry, mute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so it's okay. Sorry, I just couldn't hear myself. But with young adult, like I was gonna make another connection. If you like Scott, he's also sometimes, not all the time, on Lance's Clone Wars streams. He's trying to do.
Vode on. I love those.
Yeah, and they're right now they're going through the Boba Fett young adult books, and those may not be as well in terms of continuity, but even still, you see so much effort put into these things that, and like I can speak for the Halo franchise because I've read all of it. The majority of that does not put in as much effort as the EU did in terms of its media. So you see things like this, like sure, it's not that much. It doesn't really add that much to the wider lore as a whole, but still, they made an effort to make an actual story instead of just like Brennan's. They could have just put, okay, this is the Imperial Transport, does this and that, and this is why it's a thing. And that would be sufficient. I mean, I'd still eat it up. But instead, they gave us a whole little story to digest and enjoy, which is just,
Like
it shows
5
the effort
pages,
to put in. Yeah, it's the effort that you just don't see these days. That is really the beauty of the expanded universe.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's 1979 right now on the Wayback Machine. We're in 1979, and even this early into Star Wars, they're putting more care and effort into it, putting more attention to detail into it, putting more heart into it with the Wookiee storybook and the Imperial Troop Transport than what we see today. It seems so corporate and sterile today, and at this time, they're connecting to a movie that flopped and making sure that these details line up. They are putting the care in to put all these details into this little booklet, and then EU writers later mention that dialogue from this booklet twice. So there's so much care and love for Star Wars, even this early on in the EU, There's
To be
so much
fair, that's not
attention to
always the
detail.
case. There are certainly stories in the EU that are kind of and definitely not tried. But I'd say 95% of it, there was care and effort.
There
put
was a
in
lot of
there.
care.
Yeah.
I think that's evident here.
And with that, I think we can end it. It's either going to be next week or the following week. I'll talk to all my buddies here off the screen. But we have one more story set in the 70s before we officially reach the
Yes.
80s of Star Wars,
Wow.
which is the Star Wars Annual #1, which is also very important because we later got in 2015 straight to the internet with Skywalkers by Ava G. Pena. So major connections there to fix some continuity errors that arise from it, which we can discuss a little bit when we discuss the annual #1. But that's the next big thing, and then we move on officially to the 80s when my parents were born. So, you know,
You know what's insane
Wow.
is it's taken us almost an entire year, to get out of the 70s.
it's going to be even worse when we get to like the mainline novels and stuff that finally start getting
The
pushed out.
90s and 2000s is going to take decades.
It will.
We're gonna be in the 80s by the time we get to Legacy of the Force. Oh, back
For real.
in my
I'm
day.
gonna be Christopher Nelson's age by the time we get there.
The 50-year anniversary of Legacy of the Force, and we finally get there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
thank you all so much for coming and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you all.
Unfortunately,
I'm so glad to be in here and just say everything I wanted to say.
yeah, I'm glad you got to speak. I know you're very excited about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Unfortunately-
having me on here too. I was so excited about this episode. I love both of these stories so much. I just think they're such a blast.
I'm
You know?
glad you were able to make it. I wanted to say, in case he watches it later, Mr. Two Star Wars Nerds really wanted to be here, and he has a really awesome channel. He mostly focuses on the prequels more so than anything else. I've noticed he does talk about the OT as well, and he dived into the expanded universe with his wife, but kids get in the way and such and whatnot. But he was also very excited about this episode, so he's missed. Go check out his channel. He has good stuff. They don't upload as frequently as they used to, but they still got some good videos. I'm also in one live stream if you go through all their catalog. So if that's something that may interest you, is a reason to go over there. But yeah, he's missed. And
Speaking of the Wookiee Storybook, they do an annual watching of the holiday special.
oh, that's right, they do.
I was on one of
Love
those
that.
with them, and it's a really fun time. Everyone's just having a blast. Those are definitely worth watching. Go watch all of those. They're fun.
Yeah. Nice to see you in the chat, by the way, Corey. You've been so cool to see here.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you everybody for showing up. And so until next time, another franchise, but live long and prosper. And we'll see you next time. Bye
See
bye.
ya. Bye.
Bye.
And